Our job begins where most advisors stop. Saving money is great, but how do you spend it without risk in retirement? Welcome to Every Day is Saturday with Brad Gatto and Matt Stahl, partners and private wealth managers at Fiat Wealth Management. In this podcast, we aim to broaden your knowledge about the financial world we live in today and make the boring and complex financial decisions fun, informative, and educational. Join us on this journey where Brad and Matt will explore different strategies on how to spend your money without guilt and have peace of mind knowing you are spending it the optimal way in retirement.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Saturday. I'm Matt Stahl, partner at Fiat Wealth Management, here with my other partner, Brad Gatto. And welcome, Brad.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I never know what you're going to say.
Well, that's because I never know what I'm going to say.
I'm always ready on call. Well, today I'm excited to talk about our topic, and we're following up on a promise that we made at the end of the year last year.
That we almost forgot about if we're just going to be honest with the listeners.
We are. We are going to be honest. We actually listened back to our previous podcasts and realized that we made a promise that we need to keep.
Yeah. We were talking about kind of our sequence of podcast topics for 2022. This was not in that original conversation. And then after the last episode came out, we're like, oh yeah, we got to do that. We got to cast a vision for 2022.
Right in.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do today. And we think about this, and we talked about a couple different sections. So we think of this from an internal standpoint. What is our team experiencing from an external standpoint? And we call our family experience. Other firms may say that's a client experience, but what we call our families. So that's where we're going to start. And Brad's going to hold my feet to the fire, because usually when I talk about vision, it's very ethereal and big picture, and he's going to make it really concrete.
Well, practical, right? You cast a vision. You want that big picture, right? But you also want practical steps to get there. So before we dive in, I do want to give one disclaimer. Yeah. And that is that we're doing this in a new medium.
That's right.
So 2021 was the first year of Every Day is Saturday as a podcast. And it was great, all the things, but we had never actually video recorded the podcast as well. It was all just done behind the scenes in the microphones. And so this year we decided we were going to add video, and we have no idea what we're doing. So
we had to swap out sweatpants.
Yeah. Well, I still have a hat on. In fact, it is a Fiat branded hat. And I'm just going to throw this out there. The first person that notices the hat and says something about it to their respective advisor point of contact here at Fiat, we'll send you a hat.
Love it.
There it is. There's the swag.
Swag. That means the advisors have to listen to this as well.
See, I'm testing them. Somebody's going to email them and be like, hey, I want one of those hats. And they'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So anyway, bear with us. We're going to attempt to bring you video as well as the audio portion of the podcast. And we're excited about it. It's going to be posted to YouTube. It's going to bring a different dynamic, I think. Yeah. This is actually the first time we've ever done this in the same room, because when we recorded it, it was just audio. It was just, you were in one room, I was in a different room. And so now we get to sit here and stare at each other across the table while we do this. So without further ado, we ended last year, as you said, as kind of a year in review, reviewing 2021 for Fiat. This episode, what we're going to do is kind of give the vision for what we see in 2022 and what's coming up and what we're excited about and what we think the people and the families that we work with at Fiat might also have an opportunity to be excited about. So
absolutely.
You said it, we're going to start with kind of an external vision for 2022. So why don't you give your answer first? Your concrete. You can start in the more, big picture.
Yeah.
Because you got to end with something.
I am going to start big picture.
I know you are. That's why I gave you permission to do
it. So big picture, we've had this conversation over and over again, specifically beginning back in 2020, talking about creating this family office experience for our clients. And for those of you that perhaps don't know what a family office is, that would be a higher level net worth family, $35 million of net worth, not most of us. And they have essentially a one-stop shop where they go and get all of their financial orders handled. And that can be taxes, handling investments, estate planning, and even just having conversations, intergenerational conversations.
Sure.
We cast that vision together that we want to be able to bring that experience to the rest of us. And what we mean by that is bringing as many of those services under one roof. So our clients and our families can feel as though they're getting the best advice possible, and it's convenient and it's all intertwined together. And so that's the big picture. That's what we've been working towards.
Right.
But I'm going to make it more concrete. And as a part of that, we have explored, if you've watched any of our material, you know that we've found a niche in tax planning, and looking at how that interplays with the investment plan for our families. And so we've explored bringing a CPA in-house, and that's proven to be more challenging than we anticipated. So the effort's been there. However, we do not have anyone internally under the Fiat roof. And my concrete vision is to take a further step with that.
Sure.
And logically, that would seem as though it would be having a CPA in-house. But I want to throw out a disclaimer as well. We may change our mind and decide that doesn't make sense.
Sure.
But it is taking one step closer to that.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we do the planning side of the taxes. It's just at the end of the year, you actually have to file the invoice with the IRS, and we would like to have a CPA unstaffed to be able to do that. Because right now, to your point, we refer the filing out to strategic partners that we have, which is fine. And it works. And I love our strategic partners. If you're listening to this podcast, we love you guys.
We love you.
Promise. Yes. Yeah. But for convenience for our clients, it would be nice to have one location to go to. I think we do a good job right now of kind of quarterbacking all of our clients' financial relationships, whether it's the CPA relationship or their estate planning attorney or really anybody else they may or may not have in their life. But of course, it's going to be easier if we've got it done internally. So
absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, your turn.
2022 external vision. If you listen to the last episode, you realized that I have nothing to do with the numbers of our business, my focus is elsewhere. And one of the primary focuses that I have is kind of our public education and things like this podcast and trying to stay on top of these sorts of things. I love the idea of educating people. I love the idea of empowering people to be able to make their own financial decisions. Because even with the families we work with, I wouldn't say that we make their financial decisions for them. In my ideal world, there are people that ask us to do that, but I want people to feel empowered to make their own decisions. Absolutely. And that comes through education. And so we've already made steps and strides in 2020, 2021, whether it's through our public education, our inner circle workshops, adding this podcast. I wrote a book last year that's being published right now. This year, I'm stealing this phraseology from a gentleman I talked to the other day.
Oh boy.
One of my goals is to make more snackable content, not full meal content, right? Because if you're listening to a 15 to 20 minute podcast, that's, it's a commitment. That's a full meal. We're listening to one of our inner circle workshops, which are around an hour long, but to create smaller bits of content, educational content that people can kind of take in snack format. Yep. So in an external capacity, I guess is the word I'm going to go with. That's my 2022 goal or vision, is to continue adding more avenues for people to become educated through the Fiat Wealth Management brand, as well as the Everyday is Saturday brand.
Awesome. Who doesn't like snacks?
You can tell now that we're on video, I love snacks.
Specifically bologna.
Yeah. See, that's paying homage to a previous episode, and I'm going to give away a second hat if you can call in or email in and which episode of the podcast I'm talking about, the bologna reference, you get some Fiat swag.
Perfect. Let's shift to internal.
Yeah.
And let's just so again, what we mean by that is our internal team has grown in order to serve all of our families, which we also refer to as our internal family. What's the vision for that internal?
Well, we've been growing. And so number of people that just are part of the Fiat team has grown, both on the kind of the advisor side, as well as on the the more internal side from the Department of Redundancy department, to keep using that word. Staff, the people that are taking care of clients and the firm. So one of the areas that I really want to be better at is loving on clients. And what I mean by that is kind of the experience of, now that you've decided to partner with our firm and that we're going to be kind of doing life together, what does that experience look like from that point forward? And you and I have talked about this plenty of times. I have a very high bar personally for client experience in my own life and what my expectations are when I am the client and needing service.
You just have to go fly with Brad one time and you'll understand completely.
That's probably the best example. My life revolves around my Sky Miles and my Delta experience. I've got it down to a T. I could tell if any of you want any advice on how to take advantage of Sky Miles and get status with Delta, let me know. So, but I really, really value that experience. And so one of the things from a vision standpoint that I want to continue to work on in 2022 is what does it look like to be a family member or a client of Fiat long-term, past kind of that initial dating phase. Now we're married, but it's always this, we're both married. We've both been married for some time now. How long have you?
15 years.
I was going to guess
15
it.
in June.
Okay. Yeah. 15 in June. We'll be 17 in August. So it's always this battle when you're married of like, how do you continue to date your wife? How do you not just kind of get into the doldrums of, well, yeah, we're just living life together, not continue to love on them in a meaningful way. And so those are the types of things that I want to continue to build out here at Fiat is how can we continue to love on our clients in meaningful ways?
Awesome. Love it.
Good. Another redundant word. How about you?
Internally. So our team has grown.
Yeah.
And I'm going to borrow one of your words that you used earlier, but that word empower. And we internally had our year-end wrap up as well, in addition to the podcast. And a big theme of that was, I'm going to rewind this back to, we'd referenced this before, but we did have one of our team members ask us at one point if we want to manage this company. And our response was, well, manage, not so much. Lead, yes. But manage and lead, we see as two very different things. So we've gotten a lot of effort to place people in those positions that can manage a function. And so it's further empowering those to feel like they own that and they can take that and they can make it theirs. And I feel like we've made some really good steps with that. I want to take that a bit further. And so to take this from big picture to more concrete, there's one specific function that I handle that I want to be passed off before the end of this year. And I want to take steps towards that. So
I don't want to put you on the spot. No. Are you willing to say what that is, or is that
I am.
TBD?
So yes. So when you run a business, there's the number side of things is very important, especially when we're moving into different markets, regionally throughout the United States. It's very important that we stay on top of that and know when we're spending this much money to get in front of this many people, is this making sense for us?
Yeah.
And are we gaining traction in these different areas? Yes, I'm an engineer by origin, but
I don't know that anybody would guess that when they meet you. Like if you didn't like throw that out there, you're not by stereotypes anyway.
No, I know numbers enough, to dig into them, but it's not, I want those at our fingertips to be able to make those decisions. And frankly, I haven't had the bandwidth or probably the passion to have that available immediately.
Sure.
It's been a necessity because I want to know we're making good decisions. So that's the function. Now, can I take it one step further? Because that just sounds really selfish.
So you're going to have to protect your own ego at this point. So I'm going to let you go.
So that and the general theme of that and us continuing to pass off some of those functions that perhaps aren't in our wheelhouse.
Sure.
We talk about superpowers often. I want to allow both of us and everybody else to further step into their superpower, and which will in turn create a better family experience for everybody.
Perfect.
Fair?
Completely fair. Real quick, we kind of were hemming and hawing if we're going to do personal vision or not for 2022. Just give me one real quick kind of goal you have for yourself in 2022 on a personal level.
Yeah.
Because I want people to hold you to it.
From a personal standpoint, I think a lot of that's going to interplay with, the business side of things that we talk about, but it's going to be a big picture, and I'll get more concrete, I promise. It is setting personal boundaries for myself and not allowing people to take over those roles and empower them and then not take it back away from them. Because the joke is that I'm a very good delegator.
Yeah.
But I do have some control issues sometimes. So, and I'm aware of that. So it is getting out of people's way, being really real with myself bandwidth wise, and letting people run with that, both here and everywhere in life. That extends to kids and everything else.
Fair enough. Mine's very different than that.
Yeah. If
I look in 2022, last year I signed up for a half marathon and showed up, and that day I ran the 5K. The fork in the road came, and it was like the 5K people had to go this way, and the half marathon people had to go this way, and I went that way. I was like, I'm only running 3 miles. I can't do 13, and so I want to actually run a half marathon in 2022. And the last couple of years, because of COVID, just like everybody else, I'm sure everybody had plans change. My wife's, it'll be 17 years this year that we're married, but because our 15th fell on kind of a COVID year, we had planned on taking a nice personal vacation for our 15-year anniversary, and that got canceled. And then last year. And so being intentional about spending time with my wife one-on-one, I really, really value that. And we haven't done that in a couple of years. So making that happen in 2022 on a personal level is going to be important. And then car shows. I have a little an old car, and I want to take my boys to car shows in 2022 because nice. they love it. They love being part of it. Yeah. And so the connection with the kids is going to be kind of creating a new, not a theme. What are they? Why is my mind going blank? What a tradition, new tradition in the family with my boys of
ritual
of going to check out old classic cars. So now, last but not least, every day is Saturday. This podcast last year was the first year that we did this. It was kind of, maybe I'm giving too much information here. Maybe when you listen to the podcast, I hope it comes across as like, man, these guys put a lot of thought in this, and like there's a lot of planning and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I feel like we're scrambling all the time to make it happen because it's so new to us. We've never done podcasts before, but now we're in year 2.
Yeah.
And so you could argue that New Year's resolutions and timeframes and all that kind of stuff, like technically we're not a full year into our episodes being released, but let's just do it anyway. What is your goal for Every Day is Saturday podcast in 2022? What's your vision?
Great question. I think I would look back, and really last year we had one external guest.
Yeah.
And that was Gavin Kaysen, a local chef here. We did have guests, but they were part of our team.
Well, 2, because we had Chad Mason.
That's right. Well, I kind of consider Chad part of our. See, I suppose
he lives in Arkansas. That's not an external guest. I don't know what it is.
I would like to have 3 external guests this year.
All right.
That are outside our team.
Yeah.
Our purview.
Yeah. I think for me this year, a lot of our episodes at the beginning were exactly what they needed to be, right? On a brand new podcast, we kind of needed to introduce who we are, kind of what we do, what it looks like to be a family member of Fiat, introduce team members. And so a lot of our episodes were geared towards that. Because we've laid that framework or foundation, I think in 2022, we can have a little bit more fun. We joked around when we were kind of brainstorming this podcast at the very beginning of what could be possible with Every Day is Saturday. And one of the ideas that came up was we should have our moms on and like basically ask them financial questions so that we can make them feel like you made me feel in the last episode. So things like that. So I want to have, I'll use 3 because you use 3. I'll say 3 episodes that are just really geared towards kind of that fun side of things. So it'll always be a little bit of a financial component to it because that's what this is. But at the end of the day, having a little bit more fun with some kind of random guests or topics or whatever it may be. So that's my goal for the podcast this year. That said, if you're listening to this, feel free to write this stuff down, hold our feet to the fire, do whatever you got to do. We have a lot of really fun and awesome things planned for 2022. Right before we actually started recording this, Matt and I were just kind of talking about some additional kind of opportunities or possibilities that we have with our internal team here in 2022. But at the end of the day, every day, let alone every year, it's just an opportunity for us to be better at what we've got going on. And it's just fun. We're having a ton of fun figuring these things out. And so this idea of casting vision, which we're not great at, we joke about this all the time. My wife never knows what I'm doing because in my head, I have all these things going on and I never communicate that out. And so it's hard for me to cast vision because I'm not good at it. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to call you out, but I don't think you're great at it either. But it's good for us to get this out there and give you guys an idea, for those of you that know us, love us, do business with us, or kind of a part of our family, of what we've got going on and the fun things that we've got planned for 2022. So with that said, as always, guys, thanks so much for listening to Every Day is Saturday. If you want to reach us, you can reach us at our website. All of our information is there, all of our contact information. The website has everything you need to know about what we got going on, ways you can continue to connect with us, whether it's through the podcast or workshops we've got going on. www.fiatwm.com. If you haven't smashed that like button, as my kids' YouTube videos say, because we're on YouTube now, right? Yeah, right down there. Correct. You don't want to miss an episode, so subscribe to the podcast, share it with your family, your loved ones, and anybody else. Random people on the street will take that too. I'm Brad Gatto. This is Matt Stahl. Thanks so much for listening to Every Day is Saturday, and welcome to the 2022 version of EIS.
Thank you for listening to Every Day is Saturday. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Fiat Wealth Management or Foundation's investment advisors. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.